G'day and welcome to AoS Coach. I have no doubt in my mind that you are both curious and excited to start building your army list for Age of Sigmar 4th edition. So in this video, I'm going to help discuss everything you need to know about building that army list. Now there are many different ways of playing Age of Sigmar, including Spearhead and Path to Glory, each with their own set of rules around building that army. In this video, I'm going to focus on list building around match play, a format that has been designed around balance and equal victory conditions for both players. Match play makes it easy for you to pick up a casual game at your local game store or attend an independent event or a tournament. Everyone is playing with the same framework that makes it for exciting competition. Speaking of picking things up, if you want to support the channel while picking up your hobby and your pre-orders, consider grabbing them from Warpfire Minis in the USA, Element Games in the UK, or Gap Games in Australia. The affiliate links are down below in the episode description, and your support is greatly appreciated. First, we'll start with the points limit for your battle. The points limit that you set will not only impact the number of units that you select, but also how long the game may take to complete, as well as the size of the battlefield and the terrain features that you will need. A 1,000 point battle will take place on a 30-inch by 44-inch size battlefield with 4 pieces of terrain, while a 2,000 point battle will be played out over a 44 by 60-inch battlefield with 8 terrain features. Now, obviously, these are just suggestions when you're playing casually with friends. Do whatever you want. I am not your dad. Next up, you select the faction that you're going to play, and that there are over 20 factions that you can choose from in Age of Sigmar that spans across 4 grand alliances. Examples of Age of Sigmar factions include the Hedonites of Slaanesh, Stormcast Eternals, the Disciples of Tzeentch, Ogre Moor Tribes, Sons of Behemat, and the Gloomspite Gits. Each faction has its own units, faction rules, and customizations. You can find your faction rules in various publications. At the start of 4th edition, they will be published within a faction pack, and then over time, they will be updated and expanded upon through a faction battle tome. Each faction has its own unique way to customize the army with thematical benefits, and these are known as battle formations. Once you've picked your faction, go on and pick a battle formation that best suits the style that you'd like to play, or maybe benefits the units that you're planning to select. Using the Gloomspite Gits faction as an example, I have the options of selecting the battle formation of either the Squiggerlanch, the Trog Herd, the Moonclan Scrap, or the Spiderfang Stalk Tribe. I'm planning on focusing my army around Squig units, so the Squiggerlanch might be best suited for my style, although I'm not forced to choose it. Instead of choosing a battle formation, my faction may have a themed set of rules known as an Army of Renown. Now, this isn't available to everybody, and if you choose an Army of Renown over a battle formation, you must adhere to any rules set out by the Armies of Renown, and their theme rules will replace your normal faction rules. But again, go check them out and see what works best for you. Next, we'll pick the units to build out our army list up to the agreed points limit. Now, each unit is going to have their own set of rules on their war scrolls, such as their characteristics, movement, health, weapon profiles, abilities. You must pick one hero to be the general of your army, and should you choose any units that have the keyword of War Master, you must pick the War Master to be your army's general. As you go through your faction's pitch battle profiles, you will see that units will have a unit size, and that determines how many models feature in the unit. An example would be Stormcast Liberators start as a unit of 5, and if you want to increase the size of the unit, you do what is called reinforcing the unit. A reinforced unit has twice as many models as its minimum unit size, and will obviously cost you twice as many points. You cannot triple the unit size, so I can take that unit of Stormcast Liberators from 5 to 10, but can't bring it to 15. If a unit has a minimum size of 1 or is unique, it cannot be reinforced. As we start building out our army and picking units, we also need to start forming regiments. Now, armies are made up of 1 or more regiment, and each regiment is led by a hero. Your army must include at least 1 regiment, and it can include a maximum of 5 regiments. A regiment starts with 1 hero from your army and then can include between 0 to 3 non-hero units to accompany them. Not every unit can join every regiment, so you'll need to check the battle profiles for any relevant keywords for eligibility. Now, your general's regiment can include up to 4 non-hero units in addition to your general. Some heroes will have additional regiment eligibilities that would allow them to add another hero to their regiment. Each regiment is deployed together as a drop, which may be a consideration on how many regiments you include in your army. Your army may also include a regiment of renown, not to be confused with an army of renown, if it's available to you. A regiment of renown is a pre-built themed regiment that has its own set of abilities that you may not find within your faction. Units that are not included in a regiment is known as an auxiliary unit. You can include as many of these auxiliary units in your army roster as you want, obviously up to your points limit. The player with the fewest auxiliary units in their roster will gain an extra command point at the start of each battle round. If the players have the same amount of auxiliary units, neither player gets that extra command point. Both players start each battle round with 4 command points. So giving away an extra command point each turn due to having more auxiliaries could actually be a big penalty. Heroes that have a compulsory regiment option cannot be taken as auxiliary units. Now, if your faction has faction terrain like my Gloomspite Gits have the Loon Shrine, I get to add that to my army roster for no additional points. Now that we've started building out our army, picking units, got our battle formation, starting to form regiments, it's time to now tweak it even further through enhancements. Now, each faction can include 1 enhancement per table in your faction. Now, some factions may have unique enhancement types. However, what is consistent across all of the factions? Well, first one is heroic traits. Heroic traits, formerly known as command traits, that had to be given to your general, but the difference between 3rd edition and 4th edition is that a heroic trait doesn't have to go onto your general. So this means that if you are forced to take your War Master as the general, you still get to benefit from taking a heroic trait. You'll also be able to allocate an artifact of power to the chosen hero to give them that boost as described on the artifact. If you take a unique hero, they cannot be given a heroic trait or an artifact. You'll just need to give it to another hero in your army. If your faction has a way to take an extra enhancement, the same unit cannot have more than 1 enhancement of the same type. So what is allowed is you could take a artifact and a heroic trait on that one hero, but they certainly couldn't have 2 artifacts. You'd have to distribute the artifacts over different heroes. You also can never include the same enhancement in your army more than once. The final element of customization comes through our laws. Now you can include a spell law, a prayer law, and a manifestation law. If you have a wizard in your army, you can pick 1 spell law available to your faction, and if you do so, all of the wizards in your army know all of the spells from that spell law. If you have a priest, you can include 1 prayer law for your faction, and if you do so, all of the priests know all of the prayers from that law. Lastly, you can pick 1 manifestation law available to your faction. You might know them formally as endless spells and invocations. If you do so, all of the wizards in your army know all of the spells from that law, and all of the priests know all of the prayers from that law. The 6 universal manifestations include the Kronspine Incarnate, Forbidden Power, Morbid Conjuration, Aether-wrought Machineries, Primal Energies, and Twilight Sorceries. Just because your faction has a manifestation law doesn't mean you have to take it. So I could run my Daughters of Cain who have a faction manifestation law, but choose the Primal Energy law if it fits my army better. Now you'll find more about manifestations on a different video on the channel. So to bring this all to life, here is an example of an army list. I'll be running the mighty Gloomspite Gits, and because I want to run a squig-focused army, I'm going to choose the Squiggerlanch as my battle formation. I've taken the Gloomspite Gits spell law, known as the Law of the Clammy Dank, which all of my wizards will know the spells from. Gloomspite Gits don't have any priest options, so I don't have to choose a prayer law. And with my manifestation law, I've decided to keep it in-house and stick with my Gloomspite Gits ones, known as the Dank Manifestations. Skragrott the Loon King is a War Master, so he has to be my general. In my general's regiment, I've added 20 Moonclan Stabbers and 5 Loon Spasher Fanatics that will be dropped together. The second regiment in my army is the Loon Boss on Mangler Squig, who I've also given the heroic trait as Fight Another Day, as well as the artifact of power known as the Clammy Cow. Along with the Loon Boss on Mangler Squig is 2 units of 10 Boingrot Bounders. Now these units come as a minimum unit size of 5 models each, so I've gone on and reinforced them for double the points. My third regiment is a Squig Boss, 5 Gobberpaloozas, and 2 units of reinforced Squig Herd. I've also got 5 Snarlfang Riders who are sitting currently as an auxiliary unit. Now, if I want to keep them outside of a regiment, that would give me some extra flexibility when it comes to deployment. It will likely mean that I have more drops, and there's a good chance that I'm going to give away that extra command point for having more auxiliary units than my opponent. So if I'm looking for flexibility and I'm worth the risk, I could keep it sitting outside of a regiment. If this was a genuine concern, I'd probably put them into another regiment if it was available to me. So Skragrott has a spot there that I could move and rejig my army to either put the Snarlfang Riders into Skragrott or another regiment. Alternatively, I would remove the Snarlfang Riders and rejig my army so I have something that fits within a regiment. And I guess there's the flexibility and the options. There's no right or wrong, it's just this is an example of an army list with pros and cons. So with all that in mind, you are now ready to start battling across the mortal realms. What we've discussed here is based on the launch content of 4th edition, and if you're watching this in the future, you may know what's coming through all the battle tomes and other expansions that might add extra layers like extra enhancements or extra types of things you can pick. Who knows what's coming down the line. I hope you found this video helpful in building your understanding of army composition in 4th edition Age of Sigmar. There is a massive hole that you might have noticed, and I haven't talked about points. The reason is we don't have points just yet. I don't know where it's going to be. I'm going to assume it's going to be on Warhammer Community, so keep an eye on the download section of Age of Sigmar. That's likely where it will be. If you're in a battle tome in the future, it could be sitting there as well, but until then, keep an eye on Warhammer Community. And if you want to support the channel while picking up some hobby, consider grabbing them from my affiliate partners, Warpfire Minis in the USA, Element Games in the UK, and Gap Games in Australia. The link is down below in the video description, and all of the proceeds go immediately back into the channel. We're doing some pretty exciting things behind the scenes. Until the next time we speak, don't forget your War Master has to be the General. Thanks for hanging around until the end. I hope you enjoyed that video and you walked away with a few new ideas. Now, if you did, I would love it if you pressed like on the video, as well as left me a comment with your thoughts. The conversation will continue over on Discord, and the link is down below in the episode description. I also want to give a massive shout out to the AoS Coach patrons and YouTube members who are supporting the channel and the growth that you're seeing here. So cheers, you are all bloody legends. And until next time, don't roll a double one on a spellcast.